how you doing? It's Johnny B here again, and today we're going to be working on a 2003 Nissan Xterra Supercharged. So let's see how that goes. Here it is. Just let me give you guys a little look around it so you guys can see what it looks like. So we can know exactly which Xterra I'm talking about. There it is, Xterra Supercharged. Here's a little look of the engine. Look at that massive supercharger. And it has the K&N cold air intake. Okay. What this Xterra has is that the knock sensor is bad, which is this little piece right here. I went ahead and ordered a new one from Pep Boys. It was $78. Could be a little bit more expensive in other places. Other places charge me $100, a little bit more. If you go to the dealer charges about approximately $775 to do this replacement, because of the fact that you need to remove the supercharger and the intake manifold all together just to get to the knock sensor. Okay, let's get started on the tools that we're going to need. First off, we're going to need a 6mm, 8mm, 10mm, and a 12mm socket. Also an extension if you have one, and a little ratchet. So I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to be using this thing right here. Makes it a lot easier to work on cars and remove parts faster. Also, you are going to need needle nose pliers and a flathead screwdriver. So let's get started on it. Okay, so first I'm going to start by removing the throttle cable. You want to clip the wires on that. This just comes right around and they pop out easily. So just want to move these out of the way, so that they're not in the way of the supercharger. And let's focus a little bit on removing any unnecessary parts around the supercharger. So let's start off like this. Remove this ground right underneath here also. Make sure you don't drop the bolts, because you don't want to be looking for them. Okay, let's go ahead and remove this one right here too. Give us a little bit of more lenience with the cables. Okay, let's remove this valve assembly over here. That bolt. Get our needle nose pliers. Let's step back. Grab the hose a little bit to twist it, and we should be able to pull that off. Okay, we can leave this little valve on. Basically just the actuator for the wastegate of the supercharger. It's for it to release pressure. So let's just go ahead and remove the little hoses that come onto it. That way when it comes out with the supercharger complete. So there's just a 10mm bolt right there that we need to get to, or we could just break this little clip right here. You can also use your needle nose pliers. Okay, so let's use the needle nose pliers. All you have to do is grab it at the tip and squeeze on it, and that should pop it right out. There we go. Looks like this side we got mostly everything disconnected. Let's go to the other side. Okay guys, now we're on this side of the supercharger, so we gotta get everything off. There's not really that much to remove from this side. apart from this right here, which is just like basically the little intake piping that hooks up to the throttle body. So that's 3 bolts, should be fine. So what we want to do next is remove this belt right here. The tensioner, I don't know if you guys can see it from there, but the tensioner is right here. All you do is loosen up this 12mm bolt. You'll loosen up this one right here too, and it'll loosen it up just fine. And in my case, I'm just gonna cut it because this belt is bad. A little bit easier for me, but I'm gonna have to mess with that right now. So I'm just gonna pull this out. As you can see, this one was already all cracked up. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a new one on there. Okay, now let's go ahead and take off these 3 bolts right here. Let's start off with the top 2. Oh, look at that, it came out completely. That's what's supposed to happen. But actually, it's a lot better if this happens too, because that way you don't have to move this about an inch. So as you can see right here, it comes with like a little star point for the e-sockets. You can also use the e-sockets to go ahead and thread this out. But let's go ahead and do remove the bottom one. For the bottom one, we're going to need a 12mm wrench, seeing as how there's not enough space in there. So you just loosen it up a little bit, and the rest should come off easily with your fingers. Boom. I'm going to go ahead and take this off. In your case, you probably don't have to. Turn it bit by bit, real slowly. Got it out. Okay, now that we got those 3 bolts out, let's go ahead and, it's got a little bracket right here. Let's go ahead and detach that bracket using a 12mm socket. Of course, again, I'm cheating a little bit, but it makes my job a lot easier and a little bit faster. Okay, this is where you're going to need the extension of the 12mm socket. So we're going to remove all the bolts that are holding the supercharger itself to the intake manifold. Okay, so you need to take out all 9 of the bolts that are holding it up. So now that they're all loose, I'm going to go ahead and take them off. All 9? Okay, now the supercharger should be loose. As you can see right here, I'm moving it a little bit. Just go ahead, let's wiggle it around a little bit. Okay, after wiggling around a little bit, I found out that there's a 4th bolt on this that's right behind here that I couldn't see. So now the supercharger should come out nice and easy. Okay guys, let's continue. Now that we have the supercharger off, let's go ahead and start removing other little things to take off this part of the manifold. So we're going to start by using our needle nose pliers. Squeeze these little clips right here. Pop the first one out. Just pop out the second one out. You want to just grab the little end of the clips a little bit. Just push them out. There you go. Got those off of it. We have this little hose line right here, up to the back of it. It's like a little vacuum hose. What you want to do is you want to grab it with the needle nose pliers, just twist it a little bit, just so it gets off from all those years of being there. There you go. Hold it out. Do we have anything else back here? Looks like we have another little clip back here. Okay, this other little hose back here just pops off just on a little clip. There you go. Got that off. Okay, now let's go ahead and remove all these bolts right here. You want to make sure you want to grab every single one. You don't want them falling into these holes, the intake holes. Okay, now that we have all the bolts off, let's go ahead and just take this off. Look at that, nice and easy. So here's a little bit of the back view. There's two vacuum lines back here. So you want to go ahead and remember to remove those. Okay, so now that we have that off, we are going to go ahead and disconnect all of the injectors. So these have like little clips. You just press on them. I need to wiggle them around a little bit to actually be able to get them off. They should be on there pretty tight. Go. It's 4 down, 2 more to go. Okay, so these clips right here, I'm gonna go ahead and cut them off with a little blade. They're very old, so we can't save them. Okay, so what we're gonna need now is to remove the fuel rail. So I don't know if you guys can see right here. These are the 2 lines that go to the fuel rail. Curves around right here a little bit underneath this. There's 4 bolts. They are 6mm hex screws, I guess you can call them. You can use an Allen wrench. In my case, I have this little bit right here. I don't have an Allen wrench with me, but I'm gonna go ahead and take out all 4 of them. Once again, I have some extra tools. They aren't really necessary, it just makes the job easier for me. There we go. This. Okay, there's another one. Okay guys, now that we got all 4 bolts off of the fuel rail, should be able to pry it up a little bit. You guys can see right here. It's a little bit of ways in there, so you're gonna have a little bit of a hard time getting. Okay, once you have the fuel rail out of the way, as you can see here, all I didn't even disconnect the lines. All I did was move it away a little bit from it, just so it gets out of the way. It's a little bit difficult getting it through here, but it fits. So that way you don't have to worry about taking all this extra stuff apart. It's a lot more work, probably another hour or 2 of just working on that. It's not needed. It can squeeze by there. Not easy, but it'll fit. So now what we have to do is get 4 little washers that are right here, that are basically underneath the fuel rail, which is where it bolts onto. So make sure you get those. You don't want to lose these. That way for when you're putting it back together. See the washers. So now what we're gonna need is, there's 4 nuts right here, 12mm nuts. and then we have 4 6mm basically hex type bolts right here. So we need to remove all of that, and then this should pop out. You know, just move the cables away a little bit just so you can be able to get it out. And then right underneath that is where the knock sensor will be. So let's go ahead and get that ready. Okay, let's start off with the hex bolts. So one's loose. Okay, next one. That one's loose. Okay. That one's loose now too. I like to use a magnet just to make sure they don't fall off. You don't want them falling in anywhere, and then it's going to be hard to get them. So let's go ahead and pull these out. There we go. Okay, so before we can take the lower manifold off, we have to take off the tensioner and this little pulley right here, which is basically this base. It looks like it only has 3 bolts. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so next what we got to do, that we have the tensioner bracket off, there is an 8mm bolt directly on top of the thermostat housing. So this right here is the thermostat housing. So right here, if you guys look under there, you can't really put the camera in there, but it's an 8mm bolt. So all you do is you take it off. There it goes. It's a little dirty, but this is like a little rubber plastic thing it has on here. It's probably rubber, but it's really hard because it's dry. So it's 8mm, just one bolt, pops right out. The next thing we need to do is get our pliers, and there's also a little hose that connects from this big hose, and it hooks up to the same lower intake manifold. So we need to get the clamp off. Looks like it's gonna be easier with some of these bad boys. Okay, let's also remove this hose clamp right here. And remove this hose. Move it over a little bit. Let's go ahead and remove this bracket. It's a little bit in the way. Okay, got that in clip. So to take this off, use this. So you could just stab it in there, twist a little bit, should come off. Or what we could do is push this in here and pull it up. Okay, once you have this bracket off, there should be less stuff in the way. Okay, now that we have the front side kind of loose, the back side, it's got some hoses right here, so you want to remove both of these. You want to remove this one and this one right here, just so it basically disconnects from those water hoses. Okay, now all I have to do is pull it off from the back a little bit, pull it off from the front, get it to wiggle out, because these studs are still here, so you got to clear those before you're able to take it out. So make sure you get the wiring out the way and everything. That's probably the only stuff that's going to be in the way, basically. So just go ahead and pull it out, and bam! Look at that. And while all this stuff is out, you might as well clean it up. You know, this Xterra has 80,000 miles on it, and it's already like this. So, you know, with a little bit more mileage, it'll probably be a lot more dirtier. So since we're already in here, we might as well get everything cleaned up, make it look really nice. You want to clean up all of these parts where the gaskets go, leave them brand new. If you want, you know, with like a little blade or something, get all the old gasket off. Okay, so when we removed everything, you know, the manifold holds water and stuff like that, dirt, so you want to be able to clean all this up. I have an air compressor, so all I'm gonna do to clean it up and get all this stuff out, just a little air gun, and just basically clean it all up. So right there is your knock sensor. So let's go ahead and get that removed. Looks like it's a 12 millimeter. There goes the bolt, and we are just going to basically unclip it, and boom, old knock sensor. Look at that, guys. Okay, now we're gonna start off by cleaning the lower intake manifold, this bottom part of the supercharger, and the supercharger itself. So as you can see, there's a lot of grime and oil, you know, stuff that's been there over the years. So first off, I'm gonna start off with some degreaser, spray it down on here, that way we can let it sink in, get all the grime and oil off. Get some into these inlets, make sure it goes in there, cleans up everything nice and good. Want to leave it like new almost, to make sure it's running at tip-top shape, got its best performance. I'll open up this valve a little bit right here, so get it open right there, spray it down in there a little bit. Okay. Spray the bottom of the intake too. Get it in here. Let it start doing its magic of cleaning. Okay. Next, I'm gonna use